Hello again, Steve here with a little bit of a comment on the dangers of getting too invested into a sort of ideological ways or belief systems or whatever they are, especially if we're not if we lack principles, like if we don't have a dedication to a set number of principles which are like our constitution, right? Now, this conversation comes out of a video I watched just today actually by Stefan Molyneux, one of my favorite YouTubers. Brilliant, brilliant man, just analyze things right down to the core so often. And this was about Joy-Ann Reid, somebody who I'm not familiar with that much, but I don't think it really matters for my perspective anyways, because it's the just the character in the story that really matters. And this seems to be a person who is heavily invested into a leftist ideology, shall we say, who got caught up in some kind of a scandal to do with, similar to what Cenk Uygur, I mean, this guy, he's the guy who, the Young Turks, who is, he was caught. Somebody found something that he posted a long time ago when it was okay to say certain things, just like, how Obama and Clinton were against gay marriage and all this sort of stuff back when that was the thing, and then all of a sudden they pretend to be champions for it, right? Well, I think she got caught up in something like that as well. She said things about LGBTs or whatever way back in the day, and now, of course, everybody's flying their rainbows all over the place, right? So she's not supposed to say that, so she probably erased it, etc., etc. And so this was found, and it was somebody had archived it somewhere, and then it was brought forth. And that's like if somebody shot a video of you doing committing a crime somewhere down the road, and then later on it was found, like nobody knew about it, and then it was found and presented, right? So she just goes on and says, "Well, I don't believe I did that. I don't believe that, that was me who wrote that or whatever." But it's like it's almost as clear as if there you are in the video. It looks like you. It's your behavior. It's at your house. It's your car. It's your license plate number and the whole works. But no, it's not me. And apparently she's allowed to walk because of that. And anyway, that's sort of the foundation of it. Now, but that's not really what I wanted to talk about so much. But what I wanted to talk about was the tendency to become delusional. That's part of what I want to talk about. And there's lots of delusion to go round. I mean, to somebody to be as deluded, in other words, we're creating falsehoods in our minds, which we just proceed with. Complete falsehoods. I mean, she knows she did it, but she just says she didn't do it because it's an investment at this point. She's making an investor's decision to go forward with this because it's probably more profitable because she'll get off the hook, right? That's just the way it is now, right? People can make outrageous delusionary statements and they get away with it. Not only they get away with it, it's profitable in some way. And I would say that, and other good examples of this is the whole transgender thing. I mean, somebody can just say one day, I could say that I'm a woman tomorrow, and then I can just walk into women's bathrooms with impunity. And, if I was that crazy, I'd get attention, right? And actually get lauded for it, perhaps. But the next day I could be something else, or I could be a unicorn, or whatever. I mean, these are the sorts of things that happen when you strip away foundational principles. You get to be whatever you want, which is fun for a party time or whatever, but it's rather dysfunctional when you're trying to, as a general rule, I would say. Another example of delusion would be the Russian hacking, the whole thing. And we can be sure it's extremely profitable, this whole racket that's going on with Mueller and everything. Searching for well over a year, can't find anything, but they don't stop. They're not going to stop just because they can't find something. Hey, it's profitable. They're going to keep going, right? Also, on a slightly different level of delusion maybe, but nevertheless delusional, is how people will say, I am things. Or not even things, but I am what I imagine I am. I am a Canadian citizen is just as delusional as me saying, I am a woman. Because it's not true, right? It's patently not true. Because the Canadian citizen is something that human beings made as a legal status. It's a legal status. Well, how can I, as a flesh and blood man, be a legal status? It makes no sense. It's like I as a living, breathing man with male genetics, am not a woman. I'm just not, right? So and that's, at least woman is something empirical that's measurable. Canadian citizen isn't. But at least, I can't be that. So there's lots of delusion to go round, for sure, right? But people will go into delusion as an investment if it's profitable, for sure, and they'll remain in that. And true, as Molyneux says, the left lacks responsibility. That's the hallmark of the left. But once again, investment, very profitable for those who are in it. Because when you have lack of responsibility, you can create all kinds of victims. Nobody's taken responsibility. You can have whole farms of victims that need to be serviced now. They need to be taken care of. You got to set up all kinds of bureaucracies to take care of them because they're victims. They're not in control of themselves. It's victim farming. And yes, the right is also delusional, because the right is deluded very often by thinking you have to be pleasant to everybody all the time and positive to everybody all the time. It's like what they've learned from Christ or something. But if somebody is positive and decent to people all the time, if that's a principle, then those who do not have the principles don't give a shit about that. No matter how nice you are to them, they're not necessarily going to be nice to you. They'll be nice to you if it works, if that's profitable. But if it's profitable to treat you like shit, they're going to treat you like shit. Just so it works. And yes, I believe that the left will continue to be vampires upon everybody else. No question about it. And here's why. Because it has been proven to be profitable for many, many years, right? And what sane investor is going to give up on a profitable strategy? Especially if that sane investor, or might not call the investor sane, but that investor, especially if that investor has no principles, right? Blood money? Who cares if it's blood money? It's money, it's profit, right? Investment. And this is the danger, I think, with becoming invested in something to the point of our destruction and the destruction of others, because we don't stop to think and be skeptical about what we're doing. I've seen Christian people who, and it's not on the same scale or whatever, but they will get invested in a narrative that this Bible is historically correct, and no amount of argument or a questioning or whatever will break them out of that spell, that for some reason they have to find it themselves. Which is rather, for that individual, that might be, kind of a life lost in delusion maybe, but it could be benign because they might not become destructive or whatever. It could be positive even, if it ends by tempering or creating they're able to find principles within that. It could be very positive. But the problem is when we get this delusionment and this investment into craziness, into madness, into crazy delusionment, and it gets into the politics and the justice system and so on. Wow, that's really a downward spiral. So what are we going to do about it? I don't know what we're going to do about it. But I just wanted to point out that, in my opinion, there's lots of delusion that goes round. And yes, some of it's more dangerous than others. But and I think where it's most dangerous is where it's very profitable. And the delusion of the left has been very profitable. And they will stop at nothing for mad power. And the right continues to be polite, continues to be apologetic and walking on eggshells and using their principle of we have to be nice because Jesus was nice. Well, folks, you can continue to be nice, but at a certain point, there's going to be a tipping point. I don't know what that'll look like, but I think this is an example of one where there's huge amounts of evidence that you said these things, but you just say, no, I believe I didn't say it. Walk away. Hey, if it's profitable and you're principleless, you do it. Eventually somebody's going to push back, I think. Steve here, getting great chatting. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, and share. Oh, what can we learn from this? What can we learn from this? Well, I think we can learn that we can live our lives based on principles, but we don't have to. We can suspend our principles, I think, in the face of evil. If we say our principle is to be nice to people, that is up to the point of like first contact and so on, right? But if people are treating us like shit, then being nice to them is reflecting that back, I think, is to be able to set our boundary and guard our location. And yeah, I think it's important to recognize that. Talk again soon. Bye for now.